All right, now it's time to step over to our review of this episode. This is Monday Night Raw from June 23rd, 2003. Kane, the Big Red Machine, Kane's identity is at stake when he challenges Triple H for the World's Heavyweight Championship. Y'all get the guns, the drugs from my generation.
Hey, we was wilding out back then, boy. We was wilding out.
I love this intro for
I do too.
Did you see
I
the
still
remake
love
they
it.
did for Raw 30 with the modern stars?
Yes.
And they started off with Roman shaking the camera.
Yep.
Ah!
I was like, bruh.
And it's like they need to go back to these type of intros because the intros they got now, song wise, sounds terrible. Sounds fucking horrible.
I ain't gonna lie. Some of these intro songs back then, they made it. It's like
It got you hyped.
Yeah. It's like one of the moments where it's like, yes, I can't wait to watch this.
Like, even if the show sucked, you still got hyped for it.
Mm-hmm. Just off the intro alone.
Exactly.
Like,
with the pyro, everything. Because live from the world's most famous arena, the holy cathedral of sports entertainment, as Jim Ross said, Madison Square Garden, where it's title versus mask, as Triple H defends the World's Heavyweight Championship against Kane. And we kick off the show with Holler, If You Hear Me, with Big Papa Pump, Scott Steiner, and Stacy Keibler.
yeah.
I ain't gonna lie to you, Stacy was one of those women who took me through puberty, just like Trish. It was Stacy. It was Stacy, Trish, Tori, Jackie. Cause Jackie was something serious. I ain't even gonna front. Like that was a beautiful black woman. Looking back at the Attitude Era, boy,
Jackie.
I'm like Jackie. Hey, Miss Jackie. Like, hey, Miss Parker. Hey, Miss Jackie. King and going crazy for Stacy because she was rocking pink. So, yeah. This was fresh off of Steiner defeating Tess to win the managerial services of Stacy. 41 and 1 inches is what JR said about her legs. Commentary was just drooling, and I mean, ain't gonna lie to you, I don't blame him. I ain't gonna front. I don't blame him.
It's funny because during that time, like even like when Batista was around, like it was the same thing that went for me. I was like, oh, I really do like muscle dudes. Like, okay, all right. And then I really just started being honest with myself, and I was like, oh, like I didn't know like they exist like that.
Yeah, they exist. Like, yeah, they can break your back like a wishbone. Yeah, they can break your back and spinal. Booker T came out next, and this was when it was
I'm sorry.
You stupid.
I said, you got tattoos and work? Oh my God.
Stupid.
You making money? Oh, shut up.
Anyway, Booker T came out next, and this was when it was announced to be a tag team match pitting Scott Steiner and Book versus Test and Intercontinental Champion Christian. They showed Test hitting the pump handle slam on Mae Young last week on the orders of Eric Bischoff. Test started off with Booker T toying around with both Stacy and Scott until Scott made the hot tag, taking out both Test and Christian, even bench pressing. He was bench pressing Christian from the top to the floor until Test stopped the momentum. A pretty standard tag team match at this point. Test tried to cheat, but Stacy got on the apron, distracting Test, who grabbed her hand, causing Stacy to slap him, which I was like, that ain't a DQ, but whatever. And when he was about to slap her, Steiner stopped him and went on the attack, but Test ducked and pushed Scott into Stacy, causing her to fall off the apron. The match broke down with Christian trying to cheat with the belt, but Test took advantage and hit a sick big boot to pick up the win. It was a pretty standard tag team match. Did this do anything for you?
It was cool. Yeah, it was all right. Especially like in the first segment. So like just to start it off, like I was like, okay.
It got you interested. We cut backstage and it's Kane staring into a mirror as they hype up tonight's main event, and then we see deep into Kane's mind. Basically, they show his debut with Paul Bearer at his side from Bad Blood, 1997, Tombstone Undertaker inside Hell in a Cell. Next up, we have Christopher Nowinski coming to the ring by our boy, my boy, Theodore R. Long. They gave Teddy the mic, and I got excited. So you know I had to write this down because you already know what time it is. Let me holler at you, player. Now, Theodore Long is out here tonight to talk about the injustice that has been brought upon this man, Christopher Nowinski. You feel me? Now, you people know as well as I do that Christopher Nowinski should have won Tough Enough. Believe that. And I'll tell you why he didn't win it. Because he's a victim of discrimination. And I just stared at this man like, he's a victim of what? Not because of the color of his skin. I said, all right. But because he's smart. What the fuck? He's a Harvard graduate. Believe that. So
Like,
what we're gonna do tonight,
that's how I feel. What? Harvard?
Harvard, yeah. Believe that. Believe that. So what we're gonna do tonight is Maven is gonna find out from you just what color he really is. And I'm like, what color is he?
Right.
And then he said, because Maven, you know light-skinned brothers went out 3 years ago. It's thugging and bugging time. I'm like, all right, now I know what you're talking about. This man was using a whole lot of words just to be saying a whole lot of nothing. But I couldn't stop laughing this entire time. But it's pretty cool that the Shield was influenced by Tay Long with the believe that. I respect it. Maybe came out and this is the battle of tough enough, blinking, you miss it match. Literally. Chris went for a suplex and Maven slipped out and rolled him up to pick up the win. JR thought it was a near fall, but it wasn't. That was literally it. Nothing happened. Blinky missing. And that's all we got on this match. Next up, we cut to the parking lot and saw the arrival of Evolution's Randy Orton, Ric Flair, and Triple H with two random women walking up to Randy with lust in their eyes. Triple H in this hairstyle and this look looks cursed. I don't know. It looks just like...
Said he looked cursed.
Like, why do you look like this? You look crazy. But then I remembered...
He was preparing for his role for Blade.
That's what that was?
No, that's how I'm thinking of it as. Like,
when did Blade come out? 2000. When did Blade Trinity come out? 2000. Was it 2004 or 5?
Yeah, people, we do research on this podcast, so yeah, let me find that out right fast.
Let me do the due diligence.
Blade Trinity. This was 2004, so this was like after.
So he filmed it in 2003. Oh,
this came out in 2004. The movie did
because he did rock this like the shaved look all of 2003. So now it makes sense. Now it makes perfect sense. And his name on the show was Jarko Grimwood. I thought they said Choco. Jarko Grimwood.
And it tripped me out because when they put him in the scene, let alone like when he started running after that car, I said, "Look at him go!" Like, I said, he can.
Next up, we get Chris Jericho's highlight reel. Jericho is fresh off his match with Goldberg at Bad Blood. Jericho's impression of a New York accent got a little chuckle out of me. I ain't gonna lie. It's a damn shame that y'all have to live here in New York City. Hey, Finny, I'm in New York City. Hey, Theodore, let's get a cannoli. And he... Jericho then turns his attention to Stone Cold Steve Austin. What? And called him out for what he did to Lance Storm, where he called him boring and fell asleep during his match with Chris was disgusted by. Jericho then introduces his guest, Lance Storm. And this was around the time they were doing the He's Boring gimmick with Storm. And the crowd was chanting, boring, boring. He took the opportunity to write down a statement I know you didn't write, so I did it for us. So people can know exactly what he's talking about. He said this, and I'm going to say this in the most boring tone ever. I would like to take the opportunity to read a prepared statement. As we all know, nobody enjoys a good laugh more than I do. But last week, Stone Cold Steve Austin overstepped his bounds. Then he looked around all awkwardly.
Right.
I am an athlete, pure and simple. My abilities inside this ring should be more than enough to entertain the masses. Looked around awkwardly again for some reason. If you want bells and whistles, I suggest you attend the circus. In the meantime, since you have been insulting and damaging to my credibility as a competitor, not to mention my pride, I would appreciate it if you would stop chanting boring. And they started chanting boring. They said, well, fuck what you gotta say. You're boring.
Right. You are boring.
While he's talking, the crew comes to the ring and start taking down the highlight reel set. They was just like, yeah, you're about to put people to sleep. And then Stone Cold interrupted the video trying to say, boring. You are boring. Fuck you. You are boring. Fuck you.
You
He
have
was
to let
like,
it be known.
let it be known that you are boring. But yeah, he interrupted Tron and he told the crew to get the entire set out of the ring. Jericho says, oh, you're a jealous jackass because I beat you and The Rock in the same night to become the undisputed WWE. Ah, shut up! Shut your stupid little hole. And if there's one thing I cannot stand worse than a bore is a bitch.
Yo.
And that's exactly what you are right now. I was like, bars. We're dropping bars today. Okay, William.
Okay. Okay, William. I like where we're going with this.
Stone Cold said he was just trying to help Lance out last week, and if he took it the wrong way, that's his problem. Ain't got shit to do with me. Stone Cold then proceeds to make a tag team match with Dudley Boys battling Jericho and Storm. I feel like we literally just watched the Dudley Boys match. I was like, it's literally 2 times in a row that we seen Dudley Boys match back to back.
I was like, oh, they're back. I was like, did I just watch them? Like, wait.
When I heard it, I was like, wait a minute. Now hold on.
I said they trying to get all the money.
Y'all tricking me. I feel like I had to look at the. I was like, oh wait, they were on Raw this time.
I'm like, y'all on both brands. Y'all just brand hopping right now, huh?
The Hills assaulted the Dudley Boys before the match, but the assault didn't last long with the hometown duo standing tall. This was another standard TV tag team match. Nothing too much to harp on in the beginning. The story was basically how the crowd thought Lance Storm was boring. After Devon made the hot tag, the Dudleys got their gimmick in with the flip-flop and the flip-flop and bam elbow, bionic elbow combo by Bubba the Wada, and the 3D to pick up the win. This was pretty, like, it wasn't bad. It was just there. It was decent.
It was decent.
They then showed Kane being unmasked 5 months prior by Batista during a tag team match where he ran off after being unmasked by the Animal or Evolution's Animal. Kane is shown pacing back and forth. King said he's back there looking into the mirror. If he took that mask off, I bet his reflection would throw up. I ain't gonna lie, that got a chuckle out of me. That was funny. That was funny. That got a chuckle out of me.
I laughed at it.
That's the one few time that King made me laugh.
I was like, bro.
And I can count on one hand how many times he's made me laugh during his entire run. The other times he was just horny for whatever woman popped up on.
Well, yeah, but yeah.
Like I said, King was the equivalent of scaring the hoes in human form. So, yeah. They then cut to Randy Orton reading Mick Foley's latest book when Ric Flair walks in and he reads a little passage for the Nature Boy. With my eyes still closed, I thought of Terry, her head against my shoulder, her hand holding mine, and even the slightest hint of her breast against my arm. And then for the second time in 10 years, a tear rolled down my cheek. I slipped into a beautiful, dreamless sleep with one thought. She had wanted me to kiss her. Randy was disgusted reading it. And I was kind of feeling him too, because I'm like, bro, what? You're thinking about her breast against your arm? Some things
in detail too.
In like, too much detail.
Like,
bro.
Whole poem in detail, whole story. Like, you know what? Let me give you the whole.
Let me give you all the information.
Whole story.
Let me tell you my entire thought. Word for word, bar for bar. Let me tell you how I scared the bitches. Let me tell you how I'm scared of bitches. Mm-hmm.
Give you a whole rundown.
For no reason. I remember the days where we didn't know nothing about each other. I love those days. Now you got people out here on Twitter talking about she remember getting banged with a fresh BBL and he started feeling her juice out on Twitter. And I'm like, why can we go back to not knowing anything about each other? Because the FBI couldn't get certain information out of me.
Mm-hmm.
And Mick, the FBI couldn't get that information out of me. I'm not finna tell you how I was fantasizing over a woman.
Right.
So I agree with Randy here when he was disgusted. And Ric Flair responded with, oh, like Mick Foley ever felt a woman's breast. AKA, he gets no bitches. None. And if he sees him tonight, bam, he'll go down. But Flair says tonight they have 2 major agendas. One being their tag team match with Nash and Michaels, and 2 being they got to make sure the champ, Triple H, leaves MSG as World Heavyweight Champion. Next up, out comes the new World Tag Team Champions Sylvain Grenier and Rene Dupré. La Resistance. I don't know why I said it like that. They cut a promo which basically gets a USA chant like always when foreign talent speaks because they want to sing their national anthem, and boy was this horrible. He started singing. I don't even know what the national anthem is, but he started singing with no tempo, no pitches, no nothing. It was just straight. I'm like, oh my God.
Just straight up noise.
JR sent them to commercial break immediately, and I was like, thank you, Jim. And when they came back, they were still singing until the hurricane made his way to the stage. Stand back. There's a hurricane coming through. And he said, holy biatches. And I'm like, damn, this is literally 2003 slang.
It is. It really is.
I remember hearing my uncle used to say that shit back in the day. What's up, biatch? Like, what?
Bro, what?
He basically asked them why. He basically asked them why they're disrespecting the U.S. of A. and the great state of New York. A lot of resistance responds with, "You want a match? Go find you an American partner." Hurricane says he's already found one who made a habit out of beating up maggots like you. It's Sergeant Slaughter. This is basically another USA versus foreign tag team match. Typical. La Resistance kissed each other on the cheek, and JR and King were confused. I'm like, that's pretty normal. It's okay.
Right.
It's all right. This match was beyond limited, even if you can call it that, because Sergeant Slaughter was limited. Dupree hit Sergeant Slaughter in the face with the belt and pinned him for the win. And I wrote down, next. This is the part of the show where I was just like, because I think I was more so ready for that main event.
Right, like, can we speed this up?
We have another segment where Kane is still staring at himself backstage, and they go back to 3 weeks ago where Stone Cold was trying to hype up Kane, who asked him if the man who took him to hell and took the title from him in a first blood match was still there, before slapping him in the face. Kane teased choke slamming him, but he hesitated and stopped himself before taking a Stone Cold stunner. The fire still burns within, or where's it at? Stone Cold said. Next up, the glass shatters, speaking of Stone Cold, and out comes the co-general manager of Raw, Stone Cold Steve Austin, to a massive pop in MSG, the home of WrestleMania 20, which is ironic because Stone Cold used this time to congratulate them for being the home of the Mania where it all begins again. Stone Cold then switches to talk about needing Mick Foley to be the special guest referee for the recent Hell in a Cell match between Triple H and Kevin Nash at Bad Blood. We should watch that for Watch It Vibe in the future.
Okay.
Stone Cold then brings out Mrs. Foley's baby boy to the ring, to the hometown hero, if you will. Stone Cold praises Mick about going on his book tour and calls him a genius before calling out Rob Van Dam. I don't know about a genius though, because my brother, did you read what he just said? He talking about a woman's putting a woman's breast.
I don't know about.
I don't know about a genius right there. Like, hold on now, he's smart, but a genius? Putting that out? I don't know. I need to read Mick Foley's book, and I need to read one of Mick Foley's book because I've never read read a wrestler's book ever.
Me either.
I need to read somebody's book. I don't know. Stone Cold ended up calling out Rob Van Dam, the Dudleys, Al Snow, and Tommy Dreamer, who comes to the ring with a framed hardcore title belt, being that he was the inaugural champion. And now this has turned into a hardcore legend ceremony for Mick Foley. It was nice. They then cut to a nice video package paying tribute to him from being the inaugural champion to winning the WWF title to jumping off of his roof for some reason. Steel cages and Hell in a Cell. That man put his body on the line for the business and for our entertainment for real. What was your favorite Mick Foley moment that you could think of? Mick Foley, Cactus Jack, Mankind, Dude Love, they're all the same.
Mankind.
I'm talking about what was your favorite moment?
Oh.
Like that you could think of.
Oh, like the
throughout, like whatever you remember whenever Mick Foley was on TV,
like when he fell, like off of the thing.
You like it when he died.
Like I ain't gonna lie, like it was great and sad at the same time. Like it was just like like I had a lot of mixed emotion, and it was still great. Like, because I never ever thought I would see something like that, and let alone it became so iconic. They put it like in the safety thing, like for every time.
Do not try this at home.
Do not try this at home.
Even though we tried it at home every single week. Do not try this at home. I can't read.
I got cousins and they want to fight. So what you gonna do?
I'm gonna slam
I'm gonna
them.
fight.
I'm
You know
gonna
what I'm
fight
saying?
back.
I'm gonna fight them. Like, what am I supposed to just stand there? I think not.
I'm gonna fight back. I'm gonna fight back, nigga. Fight back.
Like,
I'm about to say my favorite moment was basically his run with Edge. That flaming table where he took that spear. That was one of my favorite moments. So yeah. Mick started talking until he was interrupted by none other than Mr. McMahon with that goofy ass strut to the ring. Like that dude
no
walked
chance.
like the way this dude was walking. Like it was like he wanted to. He was just. I don't know. you can't even describe his walk. Like, bro, you're convulsing right now. What are you doing? Vince comes into the ring, mentions the last time they had a face-to-face. It was post-Survivor Series 2001 when the Alliance died, and Mick Foley said he would never step foot in a WWE ring again. Personally, Vince wants to take that trophy and bash him in the head with it and turn him into, and I quote, turn you into a puddle of gelatin. A puddle of ooze. What? When he said that, I was like, what did you just say?
That's it's
that
a
was
lot
very,
of
very specific.
it's a lot of it's a lot of suspect too. Because it's a lot of certain liquid. It's certain liquids out here that oozes.
That's what I'm saying. What do you mean by this?
That's a little sus.
Like, where are we going with this, Vincent? Vincent Kennedy. Where are we going with this?
That's a lot.
Don't make us sue you for the emotional duress again, because you're already getting sued like 3 or 4 times. So don't make us add to the lawsuit, because you're confusing me. After this initial confusion, because even Stone Cold and everybody in the ring was looking at him like, the fuck you just say? But he basically saved himself, because even the people in the ring were confused with that statement. He said he wants to say what everyone in the world, the arena, even Stone Cold is thinking, and those 2 words are thank you. Vince offers to shake his hand, and they do, but Mick wants to hug Vince, which he does. Vince looks disgusted, but you knew he was happy on the inside. Mick Foley then continues with his speech, goes for the cheap pop, and says he's happy to be in the ring with great talent and Al Snow, which was a joke. He remembers when he watched Jimmy Snuka jumping from the cage and hoped he lived up to this dream of doing just that and more. It was a nice speech overall, with him ending it by quoting the great poet himself, Frosty the Snowman. I'll say goodbye, don't you cry. I'll be back again someday. I enjoyed this segment.
I did too.
Because Mick Foley was that dude. So any type of time that they give props or give back to the legends that literally put their body on the line for WWE, I'm all for it. After the commercial break, we're back with the tag team match player. Out first is none other than Shawn Michaels, followed by Kevin Nash with whatever this music was that he had at the time. It was generic as hell. Evolution's Randy Orton and Ric Flair came out to a version of their theme song. I do not remember it. It was pre-Motorhead with Evolution. Yeah, it was pre that.
Yeah, it was a lot. I was like, what?
This is another Mandela effect for me, because I was like, when did this happen? Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels started the proceedings for this match. It was pretty much a standard TV match with both teams tagging in and out. There was a moment where Rick was chopping Kevin Nash, but he no-sold them, and so Rick tried to Irish whip him, but Nash didn't budge, and Rick just flopped into a bump. Rick was just bumping for no reason. There's another bump that he did for no reason later. We'll talk about it when we get there. After a brief exchange between Orton and HBK, Shawn made the hot tag to Kevin Nash, and he got some offense in and was setting up for a jackknife on Orton. But then there was an awkward moment where Rick was supposed to hit a low blow on Nash undetected, but it just didn't happen right. HBK was tagged back in, and Shawn did his stuff against Flair, diving elbow before hitting sweet chin music on Flair to pick up the win for his team. Another match, but the guys involved made up for being who they are. Before the main event, we get a promo package showing Kane go crazy last week, laying out the referee La Resistance with a steel chair, until Triple H showing up and offered Kane a spot in Evolution. And then Stone Cold walks out to offer Kane a shot at the World Heavyweight title. It was all, who will he choose? Will he become a fifth member or fourth member of Evolution? This is when Batista was injured. So will he be the newest member of Evolution, or will he risk it all and become the world heavyweight champion. After cheesing both Stone Cold and Triple H with a choke slam, he ended up choosing Triple H, and he laid out that man with a choke slam. That led us to tonight. And then we see Kane getting hyped again. Will he keep the mask or leave MSG as the world heavyweight champion? They show a video of Mick Foley signing a book to Vince McMahon, and when Ric Flair and Randy Orton walked by, Mick said, he said something quite mundane. He said, "Nice match, Rick. You really improved yourself out there, Randy." And Rick stopped and said, "What you say to me?"
Mm-hmm.
And Mick was like, "I just said nice match out there." And Rick Flair said, and just slapped the book out of his hand, and then just a brawl just broke out until Randy Orton jumped him from behind and started lighting Mick up all over the place, with Mick fighting back until Randy hit that man in the face with a bottle to regain the dominance over Mick. And then Randy Orton punted Mick down a flight of stairs. And they used this in promo package for years to come.
Oh yeah.
And I believe this was Randy's first punt kick on screen before using it, or before it became a permanent thing in 2007. And then Vince McMahon walked into the frame, surveyed the carnage, and said, "Somebody give me some help. I need a janitor out here. I need some help." Basically saying he needs to come clean up the trash.
Right.
And I'm like, oh man. They basically said this was basically the setup for their feud in 2004. Next up, we get Theodore R. Long back in the ring. And this time with Rodney Mack by his side. Let me holler at you, player.
Man.
Let me holler at you, player. Well, as I can see tonight, I guess the man think that he's gonna ruin Theodore Long's night. You feel me? Well, let me say something to you, players. When Theodore Long and Rodney Mack leaves Madison Square Garden tonight, we're gonna have a smile on our faces. And the reason why, because it's time for the Theodore Long 5-minute white boy challenge. Believe that. And JR said, "Oh no. Oh,
He
no,
got
no,
me
no,
with
no,
that.
no, no, no.
5-minute
White boy challenge. Believe that. Now, does any white boy on the planet that thinks he can stand up to the thugging and bugging of Rodney Mack, the undefeated one, then get out here. Any white boy anywhere that thinks he can stand up, and then that white boy just so happens to be Goldberg.
Yep.
Making his MSG debut, Rodney got out the ring.
He said any
white boy. Now you got the white boy from WCW.
Yeah,
you got that white boy with a beard.
All right.
Rodney got out the ring and tried to cut Goldberg off at his entrance, but Goldberg speared that man through the pyro on the stage, and that man started rolling down the ramp, just rolling.
Hey, his spears were
intense.
Things was crucial.
I think he was legitimately trying to break their ribs. That's what it was. Because you have Roman spear where he's just throwing his body into you, and you had Edge's
he's tackling you. It's still tackling you.
No, then you had Edge's spear where he was tackling you, but it looked awkward a little bit sometimes. Whereas Goldberg was literally just trying to break you, and Roman trying to float and break you because that man jumps and then spears.
Yeah, who do?
It's like he
still don't get hurt.
The one thing that cracks me up about Roman spear is like that man literally be just floating.
Just
and then bam.
So
it's like you literally be counting 1, 2, 3, bam. Every single time. The bell rung and Goldberg continued his attack and hit the jackhammer on Rodney to pick up the win in 26 seconds. So he survived the white boy challenge.
For real.
This was light work for Goldberg, but the beginning of the end for Rodney Mack in WWE, because I believe he wasn't there that much longer after this. Kane was seen still preparing until RVD came in to wish him luck and says the title is his. Kane looks at the mirror one last time, tilts his head to the side like he always does before destroying the mirror with a back elbow. Next up, we get a WrestleMania recall back to WrestleMania 18, where Stephanie McMahon was pedigreed by her ex-husband Triple H. We might need to watch that match back too.
That was funny.
We might need to watch that match back too, because I barely remember that match too, outside of what I played on WWE 2K14. So I have to write.
That is so funny.
So I have to write that match down and the Hell in a Cell
it didn't
match.
hit me till down the line. I was like, wait a minute, yeah, he did do that to her. I was like, yeah, now it's coming back.
To be honest with you, and it's not your fault that you don't remember. It's like that match had to follow the Hogan and Rock match, and a lot of people don't remember it. So that's what I'm saying. We're going to put that on the list and the Hell in a Cell on the list to watch back.
It's like, oh yeah, she got. I was like, wait a minute, She got pedigree by her husband? And I was
Yeah,
like,
she got
oh
spine
yeah,
busted. She got spine busted,
she got
and she got
spine,
spine
yeah.
busted. Yep. She was. Yeah, that was when intergender
That'll be,
wrestling
yeah, like it
was
was
not
real. It
really.
was a
It was
real
real.
thing.
Yeah. So next up is our main event. It's title versus mask. Out first is the world heavyweight champion Triple H. The champion coming out first should be a cardinal sin, but whatever. He is accompanied to the ring by Ric Flair representing Evolution. Out next is the challenger Kane. He has everything to win and everything to lose, and there was no title presentation. Kane came out the gate swinging as he's literally fighting for his identity. They fought outside in the crowd for a little bit, and then Ric Flair. This is what I was talking about earlier with that bump. Ric Flair got in the ring and distracted the ref. The feed cut briefly after Triple H hit Kane in the face with a steel chair, and then for some reason Ric Flair took a back bump.
Yeah.
And all we saw on our side was the back bump. So I had to rewind it a little bit to slow it down, and the referee shoved him. So Earl Hebner shoved him, and he did a back bump. But I was like, when the feed came back, all you saw was him hitting the back bump. And I'm like,
right.
What?
It threw me off. I was like, wait.
So
I had to just.
Like, okay.
Now I see it. Now I see it.
Like,
at first it did not look like that.
Triple H kept lighting Kane up with a different amount of offense, and every time Kane would sit back up, like he literally was hitting a move and he sit back up. Hit a move, sit back up. Kane hits his leaping clothesline on Triple H, and Triple H's arm struck Earl Hebner. And I was like, rep bump. Oh, he's still up. When Kane went for a big boot, Triple H ducked and connected with the referee. I'm like, here we go. Shenanigans ensued with Ric Flair getting involved and introducing the title belt, but Kane took care of that and got rid of Flair before hitting Triple H with the title belt. But the referee down, who's going to count? Someone got to count. Another referee ran out to count the near fall, and Kane was heated with that count and tossed the referee out the ring. So I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Kane tried to wake up Earl Hebner, but Triple H hit a low blow in the pedigree on Kane, and then Earl started to come to and crawl over and he counted a slow as 1, 2, but Kane kicked out. Triple H went for the pedigree, but Kane hit back body, dropped him off of him. Ric Flair got in the ring and got a choke slam for his effort. It was an awkward looking choke slam, but it was a choke slam. Triple H then went for the pedigree again, but this time Kane reversed and sent him into Flair, and the crowd was hyped. JR was hyped. I was getting hyped for a little bit. Kane went for the choke slam, but Randy Orton slipped in and hit Kane with a slow low blow before the RKO. Pushed the referee into position, and then Triple H finally connected with a pedigree to pick up the win to retain the World Heavyweight title. This was a fun main event. This was the match I was waiting for, and I actually enjoyed it. I don't really remember it because I remember the aftermath, but it's like the match itself, I enjoyed it for what it was. Before Triple H could officially celebrate, I'm back, and I'm better than ever. Cole General Manager Eric Bischoff came out to remind Kane of the repercussions of his loss. He has to take his mask off. Kane hesitates, but he has no choice in the matter, but because Triple H attacked Kane from behind with the belt and Evolution attacks, wanted to unmask Kane themselves, but RVD came out and even the odds. Kane then hit a choke slam on Orton before RVD hit a 5-star frog splash, and then Kane hits Ric Flair again, but he pauses before hitting his pyro because he has to unmask. And then this is where it gets intense. RVD is sitting in the ring, then Kane turns his back, and he slowly unmasks. He just he takes the mask off. He's trying to reveal his face. Kane then stops. Then he starts. He started breathing heavy for some reason. Started getting angry. And then he snaps his head back with the ugliest white boy version of George Jefferson haircut I've ever seen in my life. Boy. I
was like, whoa. Like, you mean to tell me all this time you couldn't cut all that off?
His forehead was so exposed, you wanted to just...
It was.
You just wanted to walk up to it and just slap the shit out of it. I'm not, like...
It was exposed for real. It really was. I was like,
I literally
dang.
paused the video. I paused the video and I just started slapping my screen. Just slapping it. Because I'm like, bro, your forehead is shiny. It's glistening. And it's exposed. But he also had paint on his face. I guess the paint he wore when he had the mask on, but he just had a match, so that shit is everywhere. But when he snaps and turns his head, he chokeslam RVD, who just came to help him, and then he motions for his pyro to go off, and that thing exploded. Like, it was just boom. I'm like, whoa. After the pyro goes off, the commentary tried to sell the fact that Kane was disfigured, but when I looked at that man's face, his face was just dirty. He need a bath.
Yeah, that's all.
He looked like a dirty white man with a bad tan. Is he human? Yes, JR. He's human.
All right.
They really, it's like they really tried to sell you on the fact that Kane was disfigured, and it did not work. So so basically they had to pivot the story to say his scars were mental and not physical. But that's how Raw ends. Kane is unmasked with the white boy version of the George Jefferson haircut, forehead all shiny, ready to be popped. I enjoyed the beginning.
I did too.
And the end. And Teddy,
I'm saying the middle was okay. Whatever Teddy Long was doing, I was cool.
Teddy Long, but bro, let me holler at y'all players, thugging and bugging. Like, bro, Teddy Long. A lot of people remember Teddy Long, the GM, and Teddy Long, the referee, but Teddy Long as a manager, was hilarious. But yeah, overall, that was a fun show at the beginning and the end.
Brock Lesnar on the beast. Eat, sleep, flex, and repeat. Whole new swag with a price on the tag. Coming live from the west to the east. Better recognize on the mouthpiece. See the power level gotta increase. Bringing content on a daily. Feeling like Gresh unleashed.